Yo.
What?
Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection. It is ranking the songs on Classic Album Day. Today, it's all about the first Boston album, one of the biggest debut albums of all time, possibly the album that most of us have heard the most in our life, especially if you have been around since this thing first came out. But before we get to that, of course, we need to take care of a little bit of a business. So for those of you who have no interest in our alcohol choices of the day, too bad. You can either hit pause, or if you're watching this later on, you can fast forward because we enjoy our beer. We like talking about the beer. That's the way this show has always started off. So if you can't spare 5 minutes, I don't know what to tell you. Simon, what do you got today?
Well, thanks for asking. First of all, I've got a new camera, and I don't really know where I should be looking with it. I feel like camera's up
Looks
there,
good,
but
Simon.
you're everywhere else.
Yes, you
Good.
spiffing.
Spiffing. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very nice and upper class of you to mention that. However, yeah, I'm really excited by my beer choice tonight. Well, kind of. Went to where did I go? B&M Bargain. I think in Blackburn. I think it was in Blackburn. Blackburn. Yeah. And I was wandering around thinking, Christ, this is really miserable. Then I alighted upon, are we ready? This. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you like that?
I really like that.
Yeah. It's like your Quo one, isn't it?
Oh, it's like.
Yeah. It's like that one as well. Yeah, I've got several hundred myself. That's and like that one, it's got a really cool glass in. Yeah.
Nice.
Now the only
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
I feel left out. I have nothing quite that impressive.
Yeah, in a minute, because obviously it's got a drink in it as well, but tragically, it's lager.
Oh.
If anybody's ever met me, they know that I don't like lager unless I'm in Spain or somewhere hot. That's the only time it's really acceptable. But I poured it all by myself like a big boy. I'm really quite pleased with myself. Look at that. Yeah. So craft Queen lager. I'm sure.
Class. Yes, that looks great in that glass. Love it.
It's going to end up in the Princess Palace that I might pop on about endlessly on social media. Yeah, it's going to end up in there. So yeah, Queen.
Nice.
Lager. I'll let you know shortly if it's any good.
That's pretty good. I guarantee if you don't like it, I probably would.
He just wants the glass. He just wants the glass.
Yes.
So, in fairness, okay, yes, there were a few comments about the beverage section. They don't like the beer talk. So I thought, do you know what? The listeners, the watchers, the viewers, the commenters, they're always right. So we should do less beer talk. So I've got a rum is what I've got today. So I thought they don't like beer talk. Clearly rum is what we're looking for here. I think that's probably what we're after. So this is J. Gow spiced rum, okay? And this isn't just any spiced rum. This is inspired by pirates.
Arr.
Yeah, arr. How can it be inspired by pirates? I mean, has it got an eye patch? Or like a bird on its shoulder, or a wooden leg?
Is it from Somalia?
No, it's from Orkney.
Oh,
yeah, famed for its pirates. Anyway, okay, so that's what I've got today, and it's in my nice, and I will probably pour this over myself at some point. It's in my nice wibbly wobbly glass. Like, it's one of these. You go, well, that's nice, and then you pick it up without thinking, and you catch an edge, and it goes. So there's something to watch out for during the show. That's what I have today. Thank you.
Nice. Well, I'm talking about fucking beer. I don't care what anybody says. So I went to the Equilibrium Brewery in Middletown, New York, right next door to Rock Fantasy. Obviously, the great store owned by Steve Keeler. And I got me some South Street Pils, because Equilibrium Brewery is on South Street in Middletown, New York. So this is their Pilsner beer. This is a Foeder aged Pilsner. Foeder spelled Oeder. That's a Dutch word, apparently. That means it was aged in a oak barrel. Never really heard of aging Pilsners in an oak barrel, but apparently that is the case. 5.5% alcohol by volume. And I have had this before. This is quite tasty. I use it when I go to.
Are the oak barrels that have had something else in them previously?
Yes.
So it's hard, like, because over here they will put beer and various things into something that's had like whiskey in it, so that it then takes on those flavors. So is that the general idea that we're talking here?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know what type, or what they had in them prior, when Equilibrium made these, but generally speaking, yes, a foeder style of aging is in an oak barrel that had wine or bourbon or something else in there. So as you can see, looking quite good, very bubbly. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's quite good. It's quite good. We have some local breweries that make really nice
before we move on, I've got to mention this, okay, because I think whenever we record one of the shows, or whenever I watch one of your shows, and you use that phrase, it's quite good. Because over here, or certainly this north, Simon can correct me if it doesn't quite travel as south as where he is, which is not all that south. Quite good often means it's quite good. Whereas what you mean is, whoa, that's really good. So it's just an interesting little quirk where sometimes I hear you say quite good and I think, okay.
Yeah, no, when I say quite good, that's very positive for me.
Yeah, but as I say, well, yeah, it's quite good. It's not quite the same.
Okay, I guess it's different cultures. Yeah.
So this is better than quite good, but it's also quite good.
So we got 8 songs on this classic album, right? One of the great debuts of all time. Masterful production. I think most folks who have been listening to rock music over the last 45, close to 50 years probably know every damn note of this album, every line, every melody, as we should. But we figured this would be a really good choice to rank the songs, because there's a lot of great songs on this album that are quite good. No, they're really good. They're damn good. They're classic. So we've ranked them from 8 to number 1. We're each going to, the first trip round, we're going to name 3. Then we're going to do 3 more. Then the final trip round, we'll do our top 2. So Simon, as always, is going to kick us off with 8, 7, and 6.
That is what you think is going to happen.
Of course.
Obviously wrong. Now, as we all know, my house currently looks like a shit tip, so I can't get upstairs to where my most of my music collection is. So I can't do that whole, hey, look at me, I've got it, yay, which is bad news for next week, Stephen, isn't it? However, I did, make copious notes, as you can see, and about 2 minutes ago, I realised that I had two number 4s and no number 6, and yeah, so. But I thought to myself, given that that Tom Scholz kind of started on this record in about 1970, wasn't it? It was a long time before it came out, and I thought it came out in '76, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I thought, well, how big a hit was it in the UK? Just for shits and giggles, I thought I'd do some pretend actual research just for once, and when it peaked at number 11 in the UK, and I thought, what else was available for selection when Boston peaked at number 11? And that was on the 5th of February 1977, when the Shadows were number 1 with the Greatest Hits album. Leo Sayer was number 4. That's right. Animals by Pink Floyd was number 2. That's because I can't do numbers. Slim Whitman was in the top 10.
Wow.
Yeah, just Chuck Berry was in the top 10. David Soul, excellent, well done. He was in the top 10 when Boston were 11. David Bowie's Low, ABBA, Wings, Burt Whedon, some really weird shit there, because you think, 77, where's the punk? ELO, Genesis. Maybe they would just sit there going, thinking, all this rock and classic rock shit, that's got to blow that out of the water. Yeah, Rick Wakeman, Glenn Campbell, yeah, all these things with when this record actually peaked chart-wise in the UK, and I just found that Max Bygrave's relatively instructional and interesting, because if you look at quite a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I don't want to swear. Shit that was in the charts at that point. You know, actually, loads of these, and especially Boston, to me, have stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Floyd album, people still listening to that, like the Leo Sayer album. nearly got through it there. You know, songs in the key of life, Lowe's, David Bowie's Low. You know, quite a lot of Wings Over America, quite a lot of classic records that have stood the test of time. Mixed in with some absolute dog crap.
That sums the 70s up really well.
It really did, didn't it? Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Somebody said to us on Twitter the other day, didn't Steve? It's not a 100% album. Yes, it is. So if in a minute I decide that Hitch a Ride is my 8th favorite song on it, which I have done, it's still lovely. It's a great song. It's absolutely fantastic. Tomorrow it could be much higher. You know, these to me are completely interchangeable. And you know, I've listened to it a lot, mostly when I've been walking around and thinking, "Oh, this is the best thing." Oh, this one's starting now. This one is going to be number 8. Oh Christ, that's good. That's really. Oh, listen to when the guitar's going there, and then they're over there, and then they're over there. Not all that space. Oh, and it's only 30 minutes long. This is a brilliant record. Brilliant record. So just because Hitch a Ride is my number 8 doesn't mean I don't think it's fantastic, because it is, and it's absolutely lovely and lovely. As Indeed is Something About You, which is my number 7. I mean, the backing vocals are awesome. The dual guitars are magnificent. How great must this record be if I think it's number 7? Mm-hmm. It's a great record. It's just an absolutely fantastic record. As Indeed is number 6, Let Me Take You Home Tonight. It does so much. It's nice, it's lovely, and then it rocks out like a mother at the end. It's just so everything that's good to me about 70s rock music, you know, apart from Leo Sayer. You know, it sounds great. It sounds like it's played by human beings, and I don't think we can say that about every Boston album, can we? Particularly the drums on later records. It sounds like it's played by human beings. Yeah, just everyone, to paraphrase Hot Chocolate, is a winner. It's just a fun time. I would suggest that side 1's marginally better than side 2, but nonetheless, I know. It's just a great, pretty faultless record. Yeah, I'm saying it. That's what I'm saying.
We'll back you up on
bold words.
Indeed. Marginally better than Shout at the Devil.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm worried now, because there have been numerous comments in our Twitter feeds when we mentioned that this was the album that we were doing, where a few people have gone, well, there's an obvious 2 that are bottom. And I thought, well, that's fine, because I've chosen 2 that are number 7 and number 8. Don't dislike them. They don't match Simon's, so somebody somewhere's going to be disappointed. Not saying who's right or who's wrong. I'm obviously right. No, see, number 8 for me is Rock and Roll Band. Now, as Simon has mentioned, being the lowest ranked song on this album, and that's a win. That's still a win, okay? Because everything on this album, if nothing else, sounds incredible. I mean, the vocal harmonies are just outstanding right across the whole thing, and that also goes for Rock and Roll Band. It's got great energy. Do you know, I can live without the piped-in crowd noises that kind of come in and out. That's a little bit jarring. It's not the sort of thing that I particularly like. But the guitar tone, it's killer. It's absolutely killer. You can tell just how many hours went in. Interesting, okay? Or not, you can judge. I have this thing. Okay, so this is mission aborted. Okay, sounds very grand, which basically means somebody stole the demos. That's what that means. Okay, and written in type on the back that you cannot even read. You cannot even read it. Is there's two albums on here on this one disc. This here, these are clearly demos that became this. Okay, there's no doubting that. This here, they've gone, it's an unreleased Boston album. They've clearly never heard Barry Goodrow's first solo album. Anyway, because that's exactly what that is. It's a solo album. However, the jump between there and there, well, it's clear and it's obvious. These are the same songs. This is a rock and roll band, okay, which is my theme with this song. This is a Boston album. And that's the difference. And I feel that rock and roll band is maybe the only one, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's got great energy, it's got a great feel, but it's the one that kind of is maybe just not rough and ready. There's nothing on this album that's rough nor ready in that sense. But it's just maybe a little bit more jarring than everything else. To me, put it that way. Still really like it. That's my number 8. Number 7, Hitch a Ride. And again, there's nothing to complain about. There's gentle hooks in here. The drumming from Sebastian, it's just phenomenal. You listen to these songs cursory because you hear them on the radio. We even hear some of these songs on the radio in the UK. Oh, wow. Rock music on the radio in the UK. And you just think, yeah, okay, that's just a nice beat. But then you listen to what he's doing, and it's busy all the time. There's little fills, and there's lots of ghost notes, and it's just really clever. He's driving songs on. It's just phenomenal. Love it, love it, love it. I do wish the short organ solo that is in it was a little longer. And I do wish that the first, and we're splitting hairs here because there's a first guitar solo, there's also a second guitar solo. I would like the first one to be a little bit longer too, but then the second one is very cool indeed. And it is a nice, it's not easy going, but it has that kind of vibe and mood and feel, and it creates a different texture on the album. And that's important as well, I think, because there's a lot of grandeur, well-placed grandeur, but a lot of grandeur on this album. And this kind of goes against that. Number 6 is Something About You. And same again, I am definitely going to obviously be preferring side 1 to side 2 here, because that is just the way that this album does seem to roll. But there's a bit of bite about this track. It's got a real driving beat. Again, deep guitar tone. It's really, really good. And I mean, Brad Delp is just a force of nature at this point, really is. Brings a little bit of grit and a little bit of forcefulness, but his vocals are absolutely angelic. And I always feel he had a way of kind of bringing you into the song. You feel part of the story. It's very personable. It's not just histrionics and, you know, the air raid siren and all this kind of, not that there's anything wrong with those aspects. It's just great singing that's fantastically well produced. And I love the competing features in this song. I mean, during the guitar solo, the backing vocals almost feel like they're fighting against everything that's going on, and yet they complement it beautifully. And the twin track guitars and the howled vocals just as you head into that crescendo. It's almost like an Americanized Queen at the peak of their powers as this song goes towards its end. And yeah, I mean, here we go. I'm talking about the 6th best song out of 8, and I am waxing lyrical. So yeah, if you don't like this album, strap in, because I'm only going to like it more from here on in. So that's my 8, 7, and 6.
You know, Simon was talking about some of the other albums that were charting at the same time when this was breaking in the UK. I mean, it's ridiculous when you look like here in the US as well. I mean, a lot of legendary albums. So it's not like this was the only thing that was coming out, and that's the reason why it sold so well. It had a lot of competition, and it kept selling more and selling more and selling more. I mean, this thing just, you know, grew like a hot potato over the span of a couple months, and it's just kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys have already said. I bought this shortly after it came out when I was a young kid, and I think I can say easily this is probably the album that I've heard the most out of any album I've ever owned. And weirdly enough, as many times as I've heard this, I could still put this on now and listen to the whole thing through and through, and it brings a smile to my face. You can't say that about a lot of other albums that you've like oh my God, it's so overplayed. I've heard those songs on the radio too much. Because, I mean, most of the stuff has been played on the radio here in the States on rock radio for the last 40 years, nonstop. And I never get tired of it. It still sounds fresh to me. The production is amazing. You can tell that Tom worked on this shit for years. This is not, they didn't just go into the studio in a couple months, bang this out. You can tell this was meticulously put together. The guitar tones are some of the best you'll ever hear. Brad Delp is one of the most amazing vocalists who ever lived. Sadly, he's no longer with us. It's just so well put together. The hooks are amazing. It's radio friendly. It's commercial. It's hard rocking. It's everything. I mean, I don't know which one of you said it. This is 70s rock right here. This is 70s arena rock. Amazing stuff. So my number 8. Again, I was joking with the guys before we started taping that I put this list together very, very quickly. I know this album so well, I really didn't even have to think about this too much. So my number 8 is Let Me Take You Home Tonight. Again, nothing wrong with it. Great, great song. I just don't like it as much as some of the others on here. Great, great hook. It's a very pleasing song, but it's my number 8. Number 7 is Hitch a Ride. Another great song. Man, it's breezy, it's melodic, it's catchy. It does pick up the pace towards the end of the song and it starts banging a little bit, but man, that vocal, so good. That last guitar solo, so sweet. I mean, just so good. And then my number 6, I think when I was younger, this might have ranked a little bit higher, but I agree with what Steven said. I think this song has dipped a little bit for me. I still love it, but it's not as refined as some of the other songs on the album. That's Rock and Roll Band. Fun, kick-ass party tune. That's one of the ones that we always played, like, when we're having a party back in the day, and you're playing some Boston, Rock and Roll Band had to come on. And the guitar tone is great. The riffs are great. But I just don't think I love it as much as some of the other songs on the album. So Let Me Take You Home Tonight, Hitch a Ride, Rock and Roll Band, 8, 7, and 6 for me. That's Son.
Okay, in a moment, I'm going to take a detour. However, my number 5 is Smoking. People often talk about this record in terms of the production and, the grandeur that you were talking about, Stephen, and, what a great sound it is. But actually, occasionally, it just kicks ass in a rock and roll kind of style, doesn't it? And Smoking absolutely does. And what I would say about the organ solo in Smoking is that just the right length. Do you think, do some more? Oh, never mind. Rest of it's great.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah. It's just an astoundingly good song just to be at 5. Okay. I've now got 2 number 5s. Right. I'm now going to wander off into the land of controversy. My number 5 is More Than a Feeling. Yeah, which to me, and I've curated my own lifestyle and music taste over the last 30, 40 years, is the only Boston song I've ever heard on the radio. Ever.
Okay.
And quite a lot. Quite a lot. But, it used to be all over VH1 as well. Do you remember when that existed? Yeah, there you go. What a really, really great, song that just makes you feel glad to be alive. But it does with me anyhow. And every day I wake up is a real winner. Yeah. So, but just talking about, I just want to segue for a second. It's talking about music on the radio. I only ever hear music radio when I'm in the car with my other half. And given that the Queen died, the radio stations were in the UK were instructed to play somber, sad / uplifted music. And we were out and about on Saturday morning because everything else was cancelled that we do. And Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd came on, which is like one of my very, very favourite songs of all time. So Mrs. Simon went into Asda and I sat in the car and listened to the entirety of said song. Just because it's really unusual for me to hear something that I like to actually not be selected by me, which I find both sad and interesting. Yeah. And then later on I heard Tuesday Is Gone, and this gave me a theory that in the 70s everything wasn't so pristine and clean. And do you know what? they didn't always hit, the beat at the right time. The fills weren't quite right, but they left that shit in. And there are bits of this when you think, I bet they'd like to go back, but they don't, because it's a feel. It's a feeling. It's more than a feel.
I see what you did there.
See what I did there. But it's an all-time classic. The fade in, the vocals, guitar, and then after a while, Brad, he must have had somebody grabbing his gums to hit some of those notes. Just fantastic stuff. But the bit where it goes dum 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 dum, if you don't think that is really, really awesome, then there's something very, very wrong with you, and you have made some terrible, terrible life choices. Because it just makes me feel really, really happy as this song. And yeah, it's only my number 5, isn't it? Yes, indeed. Am I right? Is my numerical stuff working?
4, I think, Simon, from number 4.
Excellent. So that leaves me with 3, 2, 1. Do I have to do another? Numbers aren't my thing.
One more. Yeah, one more.
One more. My number 3 is Rock and Roll Band. And what I like about that song is they are really pleased with themselves. Because, they really are, right? Bearing in mind that, when they put the record out, they hadn't had any hits, and they hadn't been playing they haven't been playing to huge arenas and stuff like that. But they're so pleased with the fact that they're in a rock and roll band. And really, let's be honest, a rock and roll one person with a great singer. All right. Just really, really, it's really straightforward. It's really awesome. I mean, I want to go to Hyannis. I had to look up where it is, but I want to go there.
Cape Cod, baby.
I really, really want to. But it's one of those, for me, it's one of those misheard lyrics. Because to me, when Barry was ready to play, and say, see.
Say that again?
The bit where, God, you're going to have to try and pretend and sing it all the way through, aren't you now? When we were ready to play, when he says, when we're ready to play, I always think he says, and we let Barry play. Now, knowing the politics of the band, that's not going to be a winner, is it? That's not that definitely, yeah. It's only actually.
I'm gonna tell you the song that Barry's ready to play in, and it ain't that one.
Yeah. It's only relatively recently I realized that wasn't the case. I thought they would be an all hip hop and self-referential, many, many years too early. It turns out I was wrong. But yeah. Just say, but I love it. I love it very much. And I'm just going to take another drink while you talk.
All these years you've been getting down with the Boston crew, and it wasn't that at all.
No.
Okay then, right. So my number 5 is Let Me Take You Home Tonight. Okay, and I don't always gravitate towards the lighter waver, but man, this is a sing-along. I mean, there's a bit of a country twang in there. There's an underlying groove that takes this song and elevates it way above the softie. It's just so memorable and so catchy. I mean, same again, underneath it all, there's a busyness going on. You listen to it and don't really pay attention. You just don't really pick up on everything that's going on. There's so much technicality on this album that really doesn't shout about itself. And that is one of the reasons I think that these songs are not throwaway. They are memorable because they've been really constructed and thought about. But there is a groove. They still sound really natural. But I mean,
richly layered and textured, probably better than most albums from this era. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
much better than later period Boston albums.
Yeah, you can say that.
I feel like I just did.
Yeah, technology is not always our friend, is it?
No. I would
Because
say everything, maybe even including World Stage is a good album, but definitely everything after that has this cold, clinical, just not very sound.
Third Stage. I like this. I have to say, I like this. Yeah, really like this album. There you go. And I
say World Stage, I meant Third Stage, not World
Stage. Yeah. And I also think that this is forgotten in this
great album. Yeah,
great. Considering how good the debut is, this is a great follow-up, and it gets no mention whatsoever. and we're not going to either. So it's interesting you talk about the layers, because that is exactly what I put down for this song. It's, the clever vocals, there's counter vocals in there, the double track, the guitar lines. There's so much going on in the bass line. It's loose, but it's tight. Nothing is here by accident, and yet it doesn't sound clinical. This album really should actually sound quite clinical, because it was poured over, and really constructed. And as we know, Tom is not the fastest worker in the world. It's been established, I think. But that doesn't come across at all. It really sounds like an album that was just a band that came in the studio and just played their heart out. And that comes across in number 4, which is Smoking. It's possibly the most upbeat song on that album. The chorus is great energy. And I mean, the organ solo is just awesome. I mean, it really is just as if somebody went, we'll have John Lord and we'll just pop him right here and off you go.
Yeah.
It's so good. And this sharp riff that follows, and the little harpsichord like back in it is actually a Deep Purple edge to this song.
Yeah.
Really, really good. The drums are always just a bit ahead of the beat, pulling the whole song along, and you think about the song as a classy rocker with a sing-along chorus, and you get under its skin, it's gently progressive in places.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. And again, the vocals are just drop dead phenomenal. Just stupidly good. Stupidly good. But there you go. So number 3, so maybe not as controversial as you thought, Simon, because I'm going to go for More Than a Feeling. And I mean, I've written lots of notes, but I have started that with what more can be said about this song. Well, clearly lots. So yeah, I have genuinely tried, and I hope I have succeeded in not allowing the fact that I have heard this song thousands of times in my life to colour where I put it on the album, because it is still that good. It really is. It's a stone cold classic for a reason. There's a reason that it's cross-generational. People older than us know this song. I mean, there are people out there older than us. My kids know this song, not just because of me. It's been on adverts on the television. You do hear it on mainstream radio. It is absolutely everywhere. This stuff doesn't happen by accident, although you maybe think it does now with some of the stuff that's used that way, but there you go. But the song, it continually builds and then it recedes again. The verses are easy and smooth and they caress, and then you listen for the drum break, and then the guitars come screeching in, and oh man, you just know that this is phenomenal and that something mega is going to follow, and it does. It's hand claps. Who doesn't love a hand clap? Well, Boston love a hand clap, and everybody, I think, on this planet can sing along with this song. But same again, the guitar solo is stripped back, and there's a lot of that feel in it, and it's just natural and it flows. And really, this is how to put a hit together. And I don't mean that in a clinical sense whatsoever. Do you know, this was done in a basement with no delusions of where it would end up, because who knew at that time? But this is a songwriting masterclass in every way. And there's still 2 songs that I prefer it to. But there you go.
Crazy.
So that's, yeah.
My number 5 is Smoking. Boston's version of a boogie, man. It's what it is, and it kicks ass. It's such a great tune. The riff is great, chorus is great. This is, get down and have a party type of song, man. Smoking is kick ass. It's number 5 though for me. Number 4 is More Than a Feeling for me. Again, everything you just said, Steven. It's classic. I closed my eyes and just slipped away when Brad sings that to the heavens. Oh, I still hear that today, and I've heard it thousands of times. I'm like, oh, that dude could sing. Holy cow. That's like, it sends shivers right up the back of your neck. You're like, man, that guy was something special. It's been a staple on radio here in the States since the album came out. And there's no way of getting away from it. And I honestly don't think I've ever met anybody who's like, I don't like More Than a Feeling. How can you not like More Than a Feeling? It's just, yeah. But there are 3 songs I like better, believe it or not. Number 3. When I was younger, I thought I could stand on my own. Yeah. I mean, Something About You was always one of my favorite songs on this album. And that comes from the side that a lot of people that I knew, it's just like moving pictures again. You have side one that everybody talked about back in the day, and side two got kind of ignored. Everybody liked it, but let's talk about side one. That's where all the hits are. It's the same thing with this album. Side two, it's got a lot of great songs, and I always was like, yeah, these songs are great, love them. Oh, but I got to hear Something About You, and that was always one of my favorites on this album. And again, from the side that everybody kind of like ignored a little bit, I love Something About You. I love the chorus. I love the guitar riffing on it. And again, I wish it was a little longer because it's a fairly short song, but that's one of my sleeper songs on there. So yeah, Smoking, number 5, More Than a Feeling, number 4, and Something About You, number 3. Back to Sunday.
Okay. One thing I think about this record is that it's just full of joyous moments that make you go, "Oh, that's so good! I really like that bit." For instance, in my number 2, "Peace of Mind," take a look ahead. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's all right. Thank you very much. That is just hey, awesome. And what a great fuzzy guitar sound that this song has got. Just brilliant. And like the rest of the album, I think you touched upon this previous. It's kind of really kind of percussive. That's like you said, there's hand claps everywhere. There's cymbals being twatted everywhere. It's just a really It's just a really to say how it was made, it really does sound like a band.
Yeah.
And Peace of Mind is just great. It's not my number 1, but it's so good. And just I was listening to it today, and Sonny Penwitham. You ever been there, Pete? No. Okay. And I was walking along the street because I had nothing better to do, listening to Boston. And when he did the "Take a Look Ahead," I was noticeably kind of, yeah. Is anybody around? Excellent. Let's do it again. Okay.
No. Yeah, it's great.
Just makes you, it makes you feel good to be alive. And you've met me. I don't always feel good to be alive. Yeah. Sometimes I can be a
Except when he's listening to the Boston album, the first Boston album. There you go.
Indeed. Yeah. Yep. Let's move along. But my number 1, everyone. My number 1. Somebody says, "Is this?" Somebody asked us, didn't they, Stephen, on Twitter? Is this 1 song or 2? It's 1 song, but again, it's more foreplay. The actual roughly 3 minutes of foreplay is utterly orgasmic. It really is. You mentioned John Lloyd earlier. It's just so. I'm going to do a Simonism now, everyone, so get your bingo cards ready. It's so focusy, which I don't often drop in. Earthly. It's just so good. Just oh, I know what's coming next, and this is going to be awesome as well. Yeah, you're kind of like waiting for it. Thank you, Steven. Have you took your pills?
I'm just there.
Excellent. And it's remarkably funky, but there's that little bit of tension between where foreplay's fading out and long times come in. You think, oh, please, guitar's coming. Oh, there goes the guitar. That sounded really, really wrong, didn't it? But yeah, very much. But it's just utterly joyful. I'll be honest, I haven't pulled this album out for a while. And yeah, I do think it is virtually perfect. It's weird, isn't it? So why do I not play it all the time? Oh, it's because I've got shitloads more records to listen to. But yeah, then therein lies the happy joyness of what we're doing.
Yes.
Apart from the crew, is going back and revisiting albums and catalogs and thinking, oh my God, aren't I fortunate to have such great taste? We go away with you. I'm going to turn into a middle-aged man. Go away with your Beyoncés and your Ed Sheerans and your Taylor Swifts and all that lot. This is the shit. And foreplay / long time. Hey, it's just awesome.
Can I just say that I love how the gentlemen of our age reference the youth and talk about things that were big 5 to 10 years ago.
Because we don't know what's big today, right?
No idea. No idea.
I'm sorry, shall I do a retake? I'll just do a quick retake. I'll be with you in 1 second. Go away with your Eliza Rose / Interplanetary, One Republic, KSI, Harry Styles. He wears a dress. I know he is. Nicki Minaj. Yeah. I'm just looking at the top 10. Elton John. Oh. Top 10 UK singles this week. So.
Nicki Minaj. Let's not even go there. Steven, what do you got?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, what have I got? It's been spoken about. Let's be honest. I love an album where sequencing is nearly as important as the songs themselves. Yeah. Absolutely adore it. So when More Than a Feeling fades out, and I'm not a fan of the fade out, although we're in an era when the fade out was the thing. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the fade out. But when it fades out and that acoustic guitar strumming of Peace of Mind comes in, and then there's a tambourine shake, and then there's a clever little guitar lick that kicks, and you are 100% on board. And when you've played this album a few hundred times, or even just once or twice, you're already listening for all these little bits. You're already going, oh, please go. As Simon said, you're just going, oh, yeah, there it is. You can't help but get excited about the whole journey and the process through the album. But it's the same again, the vocals here, they're so natural, but they're so powerful. And there's also really serious lyric on the go here too. And I mean, I'm not suggesting that mental issues are new, but way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time in the way that it's kind of tackled in that. And yeah, okay, it's not in your face what the message is, but you listen to the lyrics and you kind of go, yeah, okay, fair enough. It's a comment on what you want and what you don't and how you get it and how you shouldn't and various things. It's a really clever lyric. But the guitar interplay during the solo, you're just on board through the whole thing. And there's not a single solo dropped on this album that you think, yeah, didn't need to be there. Everything is there for the right reason. And it advances the songs fantastically. And then there is, take a look ahead. And you're like, you know? But I love how the acoustic guitar intro is then repeated on the electric at that point. The little bits that the song construction is just, for a debut album, this is bonkers good. Absolutely bonkers good. The understanding of what draws you in without even really thinking about it when you first hear songs, that they just take you on that journey, is totally here. And no more so than in, yes, Foreplay / Long Time Gone, because it just ticks every box for me. And I did actually put down, it would appear that maybe it will be, I didn't know if this would be the conventional choice for best or favourite or whatever you want to say. But the groove and organ work that's on here, that's just, I mean, same again, I don't want to reference other bands because this was groundbreaking in its own way, but you do put it on and go, did he invite Kansas round for tea? Do you know, it is just, you suddenly think, well, hold on, I'm listening to a different band. But the whole progression again, that ba-doom, 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 it's so good. It's just, and it's so progressive that all it lacks is a cape. That is the only thing that's missing to make it a prog rock monster on a seminal AOR / melodic rock album, whatever we want to call this, whatever it wasn't termed as these things back then. We look and we call things totally different things now. I don't really care. It's just a bloody great album, is what it is. But then again, that calm as it moves from Foreplay into Long Time, it's the classic payoff. Soaring guitars that are signposting. Do you know, I mean, Meatloaf built a career on this quite soon, on those guitar sounds. And it's just so uplifting, do you know? But the difference being that Brad Delp plays it really straight down the line. There's no histrionics, there's no theatrics, there's nothing in that sense. It's just phenomenal singing. It really is, do you know? And that layered vocals on the bit, well, I'm taking my time. And again, with hand claps. I mean, who knew that hand claps were so integral?
Just moving along.
Yeah. Brilliant. It's just moving is the correct turn of phrase, because it really is. Do you know? And in case you were left in any doubt, we got another shot howling guitar solo, but it's so unforced. There's so much going on here, but it never overeggs it and it never underplays it. It's just so good. So yeah, it's phenomenal. It really is. And it's got a great cover. It's got a great cover. And I don't love the logo, but it works. When you really look at the logo, when you absolutely analyze it, it's a bit skew with the S and the T don't really. This is what I do in my spare time, people. They don't really kind of play off each other very well and all this kind of stuff. And it looks a little bit squint and all that sort of stuff. I do like the skyline. Look at the skyline. That's the whole package. It's the real deal. I mean, there's a whole blurb on the back about how much you're going to love what's inside. I mean, it was too much to read in the record shop. But there's love and care and attention gone into everything from the hairstyles right the way through to the songs themselves. Wow. There you go.
Yeah, I'm just moving along. Yeah, I want to listen to this now again.
Yeah.
That's yeah, my my number 1 and 2 have always been my 2 favorite songs on this album. It's just a matter of what the order is. I would say, the first like 10, 15, 20 years that I had this album, it was probably what my number 2 is today. The last like decade or two, my number 1 has been my number 1. So these 2 songs have flip-flopped, or two and a half songs, whatever you want to call it. My number 2 is Foreplay Long Time. Everything you guys just said, it's tremendous. It's really proggy, big time. The organ is just so good. Man, just the little sound effects. Schultz was just a genius with like sound effects and utilizing amps to, in the studio, all this little trickery, all these little things you think were synthesizers. They're not. No synths used on this album, right? Things like, pick scrapes and echoes, just crazy what he was able to do. And the way it subtly moves into Long Time is genius. And how about Barry Goudreau's solo in Long Time? Oh, killer. I wish we heard him do more of that on these albums. Because again, I kind of asked Barry that myself when I talked to him a year or so ago. And he was like, yeah, I did that solo. And I don't think he did much at all on the, yeah, I know, right? Much at all on these albums, sadly. I think, Tom probably did a lot. It's still like a big mystery about how much, those guys you showed before, like these guys, actually played on these first 2 albums. I don't know. Brad sung, but based on what we saw going forward, when basically he fired most of these guys, Tom was pretty adept, I think, at doing everything himself if he needed to. But regardless, like Simon said, this sounds like a true band here. It's so good. So yeah, so Foreplay Long Time is my number 2. My number 1 is Peace of Mind. Man, that acoustic intro into that killer electric, I mean, I just love that sort of stuff, man. It's just so good. The vocals are outstanding. That chorus, I mean, oh my God, just man, so good. And then that point where the acoustic should be. So the acoustic intro, which you mentioned, Steven, that they pick back up again late in the song, and it's the electric, everything goes completely silent. You can hear that pick going across the strings on his Gibson Les Paul. Yes, the reason why I bought that guitar is because I love Tom Schultz so much, and he always played a gold top. And it's so perfect sounding. It's like there's no extra distortion, any effect. It's a straight Les Paul through a Marshall amp, and it sounds glorious. And I love everything about Peace of Mind. Brad's vocals, it's just such a great song. And I get how More Than a Feeling is like, the go-to song on this album for most people, and it was the biggest hit. To me, the best written and arranged song on this album is Peace of Mind, and it's not even close. So that's my number 1. Yeah, can you tell we love this album? And this is a great album. This is a great album. It's funny because, Simon mentioned before how he hadn't heard it in a while. And I think that's really key, because this is like one of those albums that even if you haven't listened to it in a while, when you do go and play it, it's like the best friend you haven't seen in a year, 5 years, 20 years. And it's almost like not a day has gone by since you saw that friend last. And I still know like every line on every song, every note, where it should be. And it's like, and I never get tired of it. And when I play it, it's like, oh yes, I've missed you. I'm glad you're here once again. So good.
That's definitely what struck me going back. I mean, I can't tell the last time I listened to it. It's not actually probably that long ago. But going back to it again this week, more than I needed to do this show, because I couldn't help it. I thought, oh, got another excuse to put that on again. Let's move my review pile down a little bit and play Boston again. There are albums that I really, really like. I go as far as to say that I adore them. That you don't listen to them for a while and you put them on, and there are the lesser songs. There are the ones where you kind of go, oh yeah, I forgot that was on here. That's really good too. Even the ones that I've put at 7 and 8 in here are not those songs.
No.
They're not songs where you think, oh yeah, I like that one as well. I put this on and thought, yeah, okay, I'm here for the whole ride because I know everything that's on here, and I know it back to front. And yes, we listened to it on a cassette copy when I was younger because that's what we had. You can have a drink. One of my brother's friends bought it, copied it. We listened to it on cassette. We were killing music, as they said. But yes, I bought it here and it's on CD over there. So I've paid my dues. All right. And we listened to it so much. And I mean, the other side of the C90 tape, as it was back then, was this. We didn't listen to this quite as much, but we listened to them both equally because they're just so bloody good. But yeah, front to back and back to front, there's no waste. Not a second of it.
Yeah, you know, it's a great album. When like I was just thinking, I'm looking at my number 7 was "Hitch a Ride," and I'm sitting there thinking, "Gonna hitch a ride."
Yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, that's so amazing." Yeah, it's my number 7. Wow, right? Yeah,
yeah.
I will say, if there never was this album, and their debut album was the second album, we'd probably be talking about that the same way we talk about this. Because quite frankly, that album gets overshadowed by this one because this is a better album, but not by that much, I don't think.
Yeah, it's tight. Yeah. It's been interesting listening to you two gentlemen talk about this album because as you do and you picking out favourite moments in songs, I'm hearing that riff. I can hear that fill. I can hear the bass line. You hear the organ solo. You don't just think, yeah, okay, I remember that song. It's quite good. You generally go, it's just so good, so memorable. It's outstandingly good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you don't get though. You've got all these things that are really great, little riffs, little fills, little bass lines and stuff. But once they've done it, that's it. They don't go back and do it 58 times just because they can.
Right.
That's what gives it that side. That it's really concise, which I think we all realize Simon really likes. They get in, they do it, they sod off. It's just. They could have strung some of those songs out. We're going, let's do that shit again one more time. Further in the song, shall we? Yeah, let's just do that chorus. Well, no, just it's absolute precision, classic rock.
Yeah, no wasted notes anywhere, no overuse of anything. No, you talked about solos early on about how they're so perfect for the song. There's not one solo on any of these first couple albums that overstays its welcome.
Yep.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, I was listening to "Don't Look Back" at the gym, and my favorite song on that is "Man I'll Never Be," which I think is one of my favorite Boston songs in general. And I listened to it like 3 times in a row. I was like so into it. I'm like, okay, we'll hear that one again. Okay, we'll hear that one again. I was like, man, this never gets old.
Yeah. Same again. There's not a wasted song on that album either. Now that I'm looking at it, listen to that. It's crazy good. Yeah. That's what a 1-2 really is. It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Probably ranks up there in rock history as the 2 of the greatest, debut and sophomore or second albums of all time, up there with like, Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and, I'm sure there's lots of others, but yeah, I mean, it's both of them are just masterpieces.
And yet I would suggest that because this isn't heavy, this is not taken so seriously these days as those other bands that you've mentioned. That's the real travesty for me. I'm not suggesting, I'm sure there'll be some people in the comments that don't like this. There you go. You can't please everybody all the time. You just can't do that. And I respect it. If you don't like it, that is totally fine. I don't agree with you, but that's the way that it goes. But because of the style of music this is, and maybe because of the style of music that these kind of albums opened the door to, and what would come later in the 70s into the 80s, the likes of Boston now looked at people go, yeah, a couple of good songs. So, we don't get looking and go, oh, they had a catalogue of, and okay, they don't have 15, 20 albums. That's maybe the difference as well, is that there was so much time and opportunity wasted. But then again, he had the opportunity to waste the time because why was there any hurry in real terms? Because the success was already so big that it made no difference,
I mean, you make a good point. I've seen people comment that say that they don't even think that Boston was a rock band. I'm like, well, what are they? The fact that that someone would think that this isn't like a hard rock album, then what are you hearing? Well, because they had a couple, because it was big selling, and because they had, it's played on the radio. I mean,
that's it. That's the thing for me, is I think that what Simon mentioned earlier, the fact that there is, for the UK especially, a crossover song, more than a feeling as a genuine rock classic. But it's more than that. As I say, people outside of the sort of circles that will talk about the rest of the album know that song and know it really well, and I've heard it loads of times and all that kind of stuff. And in many ways, wrongly, that often then cheapens the discussion about that band later down the line. It's a great example, and I know we bang on about them on the channel, a great example of that is Europe. There's that one hit that everyone goes, oh, they're that song. Or Scorpions from last week, oh, they're the whistling band. And that one really massive hit just seems to make everybody go, ah, what a shit. It's not. Stop it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop ranting eventually, one of these days. Probably not.
Simon, you want to tell everyone what we're doing next week?
Yes, because I've been paying attention.
That's a good thing.
I'm not going to feel bad, Simon, because you've been paying attention, you've been a good boy. But I couldn't help but think, and I'm not going to tell you that I don't like the band we're going to talk about next week, because I really do. But it was interesting that what you mentioned about this is that there's no wasted notes. There's no repetition. They don't go back and say, do you know what? That was a great idea. Let's play it 17 times. Okay, who are we talking about next week, Simon?
I'm going to talk about Nightwish. I feel like I already get a sniff of what you might be going to say, and potentially how wrong you're going to be.
Absolutely.
Therein lies the key, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So his favorite and least favorite albums once again next week. Nightwish, the great female-fronted symphonic metal band, who probably the most popular and best-selling of those type of bands, I would say.
I don't think there's much doubt about that, I would suggest. I don't know the facts and figures, but I can't think of anyone that would rival them.
Yeah. So so we're doing that next week. We'll pick our two favorites, our two least favorites, and that thing we call a wild card, which could be just about anything. So stay tuned for that. And before we go, please remember, well, hit that like button for one thing. Hit that like button, but also down in the comments below, please rank these songs. Yes, these songs right there in your order of preference on this great Boston debut. And this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. Lots of great reviews over there, 22,000 plus, as a matter of fact. And how many thousand by the three of us on that said website? I don't know. A long time. Quite a lot. Yes, exactly. So go check those out. That should be your regular destination for just reviews. Lots of them. And also, please, I forgot where I left off here. We're on YouTube and Facebook all the damn time. I totally forgot. I should have never. See what happens when I deviate from the
Shall we cut and start again?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Thank you, Simon. That's the only way to get me back on track. I got to start over again because otherwise, forget it. My mind is getting old. I got the old. So for Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you next week here on the UK Connection. Enjoy your Saturday. Don't forget, tomorrow we have on the channel ranking the albums. Tomorrow morning on Sunday, well, it'll be tomorrow afternoon in the UK, Rick Labonte and I will be ranking the catalog of Joe Bonamassa. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then Hudson Valley Squares on Monday. So we'll see you all then. Take care of everybody. See you next Saturday.